This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Hello and welcome to our tiny makeshift in-studio newspaper set that is actually really in my office. Today we'll be testing out the photo and video capabilities on the new iPhone 14 Pro, and we will be comparing some of it to the 13 Pro Max as well. So our model Joelle is coming in, and let's shoot.
Throughout this video, I'll show you a bunch of example raw photos, as well as ones edited with my new Kodiak and Vintage Lightroom preset packs, which will be available really soon. So if you want to be the first to know about when they drop, click the link in the description box below. First, the new 48 megapixel sensor. Now this is the biggest talking point with the new 14 Pro. Now that is a lot of pixels. My previous iPhone 13 Pro has 12 megapixels and you're telling me this has 4 times that amount? Now here's how they made that possible. When you're shooting normally, just like out and about, the 14 Pro will group together these pixels into groups of 4, which is where you get the term quad pixel. So that the final image is 48 megapixels, which is, groups of 4 equals 12 megapixels. And this makes a lot of sense because then the iPhone is using 4 times the number of pixels to gather light, detail, colors, and binning them together. So that's another photography term called pixel binning, to result in a final image with the same number of megapixels as the previous 13 Pro, but with much better light performance, detail, etc. Now that being said, if you want to go full pro, then you need to flip the switch and turn on Pro RAW. Now this will leverage each individual pixel of the 48 megapixels and give you an unbelievably sharp, detailed, and rich photo. So keep in mind, the file sizes on this are massive, like each photo was approximately 60 to 70 megabytes. So as much as this is wildly impressive, I'll be reserving this feature for only when I really need it. The larger sensor is 65% larger than my previous iPhone 13 Pro. This is actually a bigger deal than the megapixel bump because in professional photography, a larger sensor is really what's going to give you a more immersive image with higher dynamic range, more detail, and greater flexibility to edit with in post-production. Now there is also a new 2x optical zoom mode. This optical zoom is equivalent to a 48mm focal length. Now this is one of my favorite new features because by using the middle 12 megapixels of the 48 megapixel sensor, you get a full resolution 12 megapixel photo, but at the 48mm focal length. It also works in portrait mode, time-lapse, and panorama. Now the main camera is now 24mm instead of the old 26mm, so this is sick. It's a subtle difference, but as a total nerd when it comes to this stuff, I definitely notice it and I do like it a lot. Now if you take a look at these two photos, they were literally taken side by side. On the 14 Pro, there's just a little more room around the edges of the photo than on the 13 Pro Max.
You enjoying this video? Cool. Couple things I'm gonna ask you to do then. 1, maybe subscribe to my channel. 2, listen to me talk about Squarespace for a minute. Thanks. I used Squarespace to make my website. I legitimately did, even before they paid me to do this ad. The template I chose was clean and stylish, and I literally built it myself. I really struggle with design, but Squarespace made it super easy for me to showcase my portfolio beautifully. The platform is super easy for me to customize, update regularly, and I can get analytics about the purchases made on my digital products through my online store. And I run my own business, so I don't have time to learn a whole new platform. All right, so head over to Squarespace for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, you can use this code right here to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks, Squarespace. Now back to the video.
Next, we tested some low light photos. So we closed all of our windows and powered down our key light to do some low light tests. As you can see, it's quite dark in the room, but these iPhones do such a good job at low light photos. Now, supposedly the new iPhone has 3 times better performance for low light photos on the ultra wide lens, 2 times better performance for low light photos on the normal 1x lens, and 2 times better performance for low light photos on the telephoto lens. After taking these test photos, I can definitely tell a difference, and especially on the main camera. The front-facing camera now has autofocus and a larger aperture at f1.9. Now this is the true depth camera. It also has more megapixels at 12 megapixels. That's double what the 13 Pro Max had. Now, low-key, this is kind of a flex. I don't know why they couldn't put autofocus in there before, but here we are. There's definitely a noticeable difference with the autofocus, especially at close distances. And this is just gonna make my TikTok life that much better. Next, we tested the flash. The iPhone 14 Pro has a new adaptive true tone flash that has an array of 9 LEDs that change pattern based on the chosen focal length. Now, supposedly, it provides a 2 times brighter flash on telephoto shots and 3 times better uniformity on ultra-wide shots. Now, given our tests, we can definitely tell that on the 14 Pro, it overall just lights the shot better. So for group photos, I can definitely see that the light would be more even for everyone in the group. All right, let's talk about video. So cinematic mode can now be shot in 4K at 30 frames per second and 24 frames per second. So this will help if you're editing regular iPhone footage with cinematic footage in, let's say, a 4K timeline in Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro. I personally don't use cinematic mode too much, but if you do, then this will definitely be an upgrade for you. And of course, there's action mode, which turns your phone into a really expensive, shinier GoPro, but that is always in your pocket. So we tested this with Joelle running outside. So first, here's the original iPhone footage with no stabilization added at all. Then we toggled on enhanced stabilization in the settings. Now this is just a normal level of stabilization that you probably didn't even realize is a setting that is able to be toggled on in your 14 Pro. And last but not least, there is action mode. And honestly, I'm sure you guys know already, I was super impressed. This is really cool to see this level of stabilization. Now it does slightly crop the footage, which is to be expected, but it defaults to the ultra wide lens, so there's tons of room for it to be able to do that. And it actually caps out at 2.8K at 60 frames per second. Now overall, once again, I am impressed with the newest, latest, and greatest from the iPhone lineup. The 48 megapixel Pro RAW photos are incredible. However, the file size of these photos is a bit cumbersome, but that does kind of come with the territory. I'm impressed with the low light bump and quality, and it genuinely feels like a more refined, better iterated camera system. Oh yeah, and you know, action mode's pretty cool too.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I don't know about you, but I am super impressed with what I saw today on this phone. And if you liked this video, please give it a like down below, subscribe if you're not already, and hit the notification bell to get notified for all future videos. Let me know in the comments if you want me to test anything out that's Apple related or more stuff with the iPhone 14 Pro maybe. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Adios, amigo. Bye, bear.